All right, my friends, for this episode of Missional Amphibians, I would like to share on a few things related to work. This could apply to if you're working for a church, if you're working for a nonprofit, or if you're working for a small business, if you're working in a school. It's basically just about diligence, about qualities of being productive, and especially when people are depending on you, people are paying you, or you've committed to doing something voluntarily, but for whatever reason you've made a commitment. And I want to just talk really quick about four things in this episode. And the first one I want to talk about is just humility in the learning process, as a characteristic that's important regarding work. I talk about every time we have this podcast, this YouTube channel, I talk about the idea of metamorphosis and change, and how in the era that we live in this generation, there is just such a need for people to be flexible and to be able to reinvent themselves and transition. And for that, it's such an important thing to have humility, because humility is necessary for you to learn. Sometimes you have to be confident and put your best foot forward, and I wouldn't say make yourself look like you know more than you do, but there are times when what you don't know is not something you want to advertise. But at the same time, you need to have humility in order to be able to learn. And I've found that God has put me in situations where people believed in me, in my desire to learn, and were willing to take a chance. And I had to have the humility to be in that situation where I was learning, where I was an apprentice. And it's a humbling thing. So that's number one, humility in the learning process. Principle number two, these are just things I'm sharing really that I feel like I'm learning and I'm experiencing it myself right now. The second thing is giving our best, excellence. It's so easy, it's such a temptation for people to just fudge their hours and pretend that they're really working hard, pretending that they're really using the best of their energies and their time for what people are expecting of them, for what they're getting paid to do, or for what they committed to do voluntarily. Whatever the case, it's a commitment. And the word I'm thinking of here is really just the word excellence. Myself, I feel like naturally excellence is not something that flows from me. I really enjoy things that I can be creative in, like preparing a Bible study, or maybe writing a song, or even just learning to play something instrumentally or whatever. I love creative things, but I kind of do them to my own standard, I think, is my natural take on things, as opposed to being able to submit to what others are expecting of me and doing something really excellent according to standards that don't come from myself, but standards that are placed, upon me. And I've learned a lot about this from my wife. My wife is naturally a person who strives for excellence. She's a person who takes very seriously, what people are expecting of her, her word, her character, and doing her best. So number two, giving our best, excellence. And then three, desiring collective success, not just promoting ourselves. And I really thought about that. I was listening to a gospel song the other day as I was running, and the song was saying something to the end of, Lord, help me to see if I'm just praying for my own vain, for my own promotion and not the promotion of everyone. And that really stuck with me. I was thinking, man, how often do I think about the goals that I have, whether they be ministry, influence, or position, or whether it be, in work, making more money, being able to have more assets and things like that, and have more freedom, have more mobility, and yet, am I willing to get to that point through the process of others being pushed down? Which I think is so often the case, and here in Southern California, it's really an interesting place because it's a place of great disequality. There is, and in my day-to-day life, I am around very different strata of the society here, and so do we desire collective success? And it's interesting because a boss or a pastor or a ministry leader will really be able to see that if someone is just concerned in someone maintaining their own position, someone showing that they are doing their part, as opposed to someone who actually sees that whole project, that whole entrepreneurial end as a collective thing, and wants to see the whole thing move forward. And then the last thing I wanted to share is just honesty. And this comes back to the excellence thing, I think, in some ways, in the sense that sometimes when we're not doing our best and we're not striving for excellency, what we do, we're tempted and we sin by lying, by pretending that we're doing more work than we actually are, by misrepresenting what we're doing. And it's interesting because I have to say, in my personality, I remember when I was a teenager, one time my dad actually called me on it. He said, Dave, you have to be careful because you have a tendency or a temptation towards deceiving, and I think it's interesting because lying is something that is a real temptation. Hey, did you call that guy? Oh yeah, I did. And then you immediately call. I mean, the people who are above you in a ministry, in a business, they can tell. They can tell. And a lot of them, if they're smart, they will take steps to find out. They will immediately call to find out. So, just the honesty, not misrepresenting our work and owning up to our mistakes. So these are just a few things I wanted to share. They've been on my heart. They're things that I'm learning. I hope this is encouraging to you. And again, Missional Amphibians, this video series, this content that I am going to be putting out, probably the thread that goes through all of the content I want to be putting out there is just the being pulled in so many different directions, the call of God in our lives, the need to provide financially for our families, the culture that we live in, which is under the power of greed and corruption and racism and sexism and so many inequalities and all kinds of stuff, and political exploitation, and then we have families, and how do we express that part of our lives? So the Missional Amphibian is breaking away from the dualism in our lives, from separating the part of our lives which is spiritual, the part that isn't, and really seeking a life that in an integral way is embracing the mission of God. Okay? Sorry this video has been so long, 9 minutes, oh my goodness. Hopefully someone will be blessed by this, and it's a blessing to me to just be able to take the steps in obedience to what God's put on my heart, to just be putting out maybe once or twice a month these short devotionals for whoever might be blessed by them. For other people who have gone through all kinds of different transitions in their lives, vocationally, relationally, and are encouraged by hearing from other people that are still trying to figure it out. Okay? God bless you guys.